Imagine spending years waiting, working, and striving to earn an American passport, a symbol of freedom, security, and a life you've built. For millions, that passport represented certainty. Once American, always American. You took the oath, lived as an American, paid taxes, built a career, raised a family, and believed it was permanent. Until now. Suddenly, that certainty is no longer guaranteed for everyone. Something that you trusted for decades can be reevaluated in ways you never expected. Today, millions of naturalized citizens, people who legally became Americans, face a reality that could profoundly affect their lives. This is not speculation, it's reality. And if you are one of these citizens, understanding it fully is crucial. For decades, U.S. immigration policy focused on who could enter the country, who was allowed to stay, and the process for obtaining visas and residency. But something fundamental is changing. The focus is no longer solely on entry. It's increasingly about who is allowed to remain American. Internal guidance from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, known as USCIS, shows that naturalization cases are now under far stricter review than ever before. Immigration field offices have been instructed to actively identify a significant number of cases every month that could potentially qualify for denaturalization, the legal process of revoking U.S. citizenship. For those who believe that naturalization was the finish line, this comes as a shock. Imagine an old application, submitted 10, 15, or even 30 years ago, being pulled from archives and analyzed line by line. A forgotten trip, a misremembered date, or a minor inconsistency could suddenly be interpreted as serious misrepresentation. For someone who acted honestly, this possibility is terrifying. Historically, denaturalization was rare. It was only used in extreme cases, proven fraud, severe national security risks. Over 8 years, from 2017 to 2025, roughly 120 cases were filed nationwide, averaging 15 per year across the entire United States. But under new directives, this number changes dramatically. Field offices are now expected to identify 100 to 200 potential cases each month. That's a huge jump, from 15 per year to potentially 1,200 to 2,400 per year. What was once a rare legal procedure risks becoming routine. And this is where concern grows. Denaturalization is supposed to be evidence-driven, precise, and based on intent. But when numerical targets exist, the incentive changes. Officials are no longer only reviewing clear-cut cases. They're under pressure to actively find them. Minor inconsistencies or forgotten details that once carried little consequence can now be considered grounds for legal action. For millions of naturalized citizens, that reality is deeply unsettling. Under U.S. law, stripping someone of citizenship is extremely difficult. It can only occur if the government proves that citizenship was obtained through intentional fraud or by concealing material facts during the application process. Minor human errors, memory lapses, or clerical mistakes were never meant to qualify. That line between deliberate deception and honest mistakes was a critical safeguard. And now, experts warn that this safeguard is at risk. When enforcement operates under monthly quotas, the definition of what is material can expand. A forgotten trip, a slightly incorrect date, or a minor difference in employment history could now be interpreted as fraud. Many naturalization applications were filed decades ago, often in a second or third language, and without legal counsel. Applicants did their best to complete complex forms, sometimes relying on memory or incomplete records. Now, these same applications may be scrutinized with a modern, stricter lens. And for those affected, this is deeply personal. Imagine building a life in America, working, paying taxes, raising children, and then having an old application pulled from storage and examined line by line. A simple mistake from decades ago could threaten everything you've built. Officials defending this approach argue it's about protecting the integrity of the immigration system. The goal is to identify individuals who should never have received citizenship in the first place. Those involved in criminal activity, gang affiliations, financial crimes, or violent offenses that were allegedly concealed during naturalization. From the government's perspective, this is a cleanup operation, correcting past fraud no matter how long ago it occurred. But attorneys emphasize that the impact goes beyond those actually prosecuted. The very possibility of expanded denaturalization creates anxiety and fear across entire communities. This fear influences daily life. Naturalized citizens may hesitate to travel internationally, worrying that re-entry could trigger scrutiny. Some avoid government interactions entirely, even for benefits they are legally entitled to, fearing that any contact could reopen old files. Simple tasks like updating an address, correcting a record, or reporting a change in circumstances may feel risky. This psychological impact goes far beyond law. It reshapes how people experience citizenship itself. Another concern is fairness and equality. When offices are expected to meet numerical targets, will certain communities face heavier scrutiny than others? Will people from specific countries, backgrounds, or with particular names be reviewed more aggressively? While there are no definitive answers, civil rights advocates warn that the risk of unequal enforcement is real, raising serious questions about equal protection under the law. At a deeper level, this debate challenges the meaning of American citizenship. For generations, naturalization marked the end of uncertainty. Once naturalized, you were American. No asterisks, no conditions. But if citizenship can be routinely revisited based on decades-old documents, it creates a two-tier system: natural-born citizens versus naturalized citizens. For the 26 million naturalized citizens in the U.S., this landscape is shifting, particularly for long-settled communities like Indian Americans. For them, citizenship was once absolute. Now it carries new vulnerabilities. In 2024 alone, nearly 50,000 Indian-born immigrants became U.S. citizens, accounting for over 6% of all naturalizations. Many came on employment-based visas in technology, medicine, engineering, or research, waiting a decade or more before qualifying for citizenship. By the time they naturalized, they had raised children, built careers, purchased homes, and fully integrated into society. Citizenship was the final chapter in a long journey. Now, quotas and stricter review processes introduce uncertainty that never existed before. Immigration attorneys report that naturalized citizens are asking questions they never imagined. What if an old form was incomplete? What if a trip was miscounted? What if information on a green card doesn't match a later citizenship form? For those who naturalized decades ago, memories fade, records were often paper-based, and forms were complex. The fear isn't just legal, it's emotional. It's the loss of the security citizenship was supposed to provide. The broader impact of this policy goes far beyond legal filings. The mere possibility of expanded denaturalization creates a chilling effect across immigrant communities. People may limit travel, hesitate to communicate with government agencies, and act cautiously to avoid triggering scrutiny. Trust in the immigration system and in citizenship itself can erode. Citizenship retains rights and protections, but now comes with vulnerability. Experts recommend reviewing old immigration records, ensuring consistency in documentation, and consulting an immigration attorney if concerns exist, especially before international travel or major filings. Awareness and preparation are essential. American citizenship, once a symbol of completion and security, is at a crossroads. For naturalized citizens, permanence is no longer guaranteed. It reminds us that laws and policies evolve, and the preservation of rights sometimes requires vigilance and action. Citizenship still represents freedom, but now also demands awareness, responsibility, and careful stewardship. Stay informed. Check old documents. Understand your rights. Be prepared for unexpected scrutiny. Citizenship may have once felt like a finish line, but today it's a responsibility, a continuous process of vigilance, knowledge, and action. Thank you for watching U.S. Policy Updates. If you found this video valuable, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on immigration policies that matter to you. Stay informed, stay prepared, and protect your rights. See you in the next update.